Hello everyone, welcome to outside Carrow Road. The coaches are departing. These guys don't look too worried, so I think we're alright. You gotta go. You gotta go. Get on the coach. Get on the coach, gents. Have a safe trip. There we go. Look at it. Hilarious. Hilarious as they... well, there we go. We'll never know quite what they were going to say. But what we do know, there's Lynn waving at the front of the coach, on coach. That's the access coach. Norwich City are, of course, off to Wolverhampton Wanderers this evening, to take on the Championship leaders. Dave Freezer's doing a great job of the camera work. We brought a tripod, don't worry. There go the coaches. Give them a wave. You can't see because they've got tinted windows. These look like newer coaches than the last time we were down here, so I don't know if it's been a while since we were here, but there we go. 3 coaches off to Molineux. As I said, Norwich facing the side that are 11 points clear at the top of the Championship. I think they've lost once in 18 games. In fact, they've only lost once in the league since they faced Norwich here at Carrow Road back at the end of October, when, of course, Wolves won 2-0. Dave, yes, good job. Dave's now going to lovingly put the camera back on the tripod, and then he's going to come and join me for a chat as the last coach leaves. It's about 3 and a bit hours to Molineux, a place where Norwich City haven't got a particularly good record. That said, they did win last time. There we go. You can join me, I think, for a chat. Oh, look at that, Dave. Good work.
Oh,
well done.
Magic.
Beautifully done.
Now we can see
ourselves. Yes, you can. I'll give you a microphone and everything. There we go. You were at Colney yesterday. I wasn't. So Grant Hanley, Daniel Farker, saw a bit of the team news and things like that. But in terms of the mood and what Grant had to say, what did you take away from Colney?
Well, maybe still a little bit of tiredness from Sunday. I guess that was a draining experience, and Daniel referenced that they're going to be coming down from quite a high, aren't they? And they need to regenerate, I suppose, or rejuvenate, whichever the word is.
Recreate. That's the one he likes.
That's the one he likes. But obviously he didn't go too deep with it. So he openly said that he's looking at making changes. Which ones they will be, I'm not sure. I don't think we'll see Hernandez and Shrubeni. I think we may well see Shrubeni from the start, because I started one question with, do you think Dennis has made the adjustment to English football yet? And the answer was simply yes, with a bit of a smile. So and then he followed up, of course.
Big call though, wouldn't it? Because would that mean dropping Nelson, or do you think he'd play the 2 of them up top?
Yeah, I think that would be dipping Nelson out, because it's about time that maybe he needs a break as well. He's played a lot of football, hasn't he? But as I say, I can't see him playing Hernandez as well. I think what we might see is that Watkins will play instead of Murphy, and Shrubeni will play instead of Oliveira, because there's no pressure on them tonight. Bolton is the important game on Saturday, isn't it? So you can't judge Shrubeni too harshly on tonight. It would just be a good opportunity, really. If he can do some damage to the league leaders, then great. And we see he's a big lump, so that's gonna play in his advantage, isn't it? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Daniel does with the team tonight.
I thought it was interesting what you said on the podcast that we did on Monday, that Dennis Shrubeni's been chucked into 2 situations where it's been really chaotic, and we haven't. Feels like, even though he has played a few minutes in those 2 situations, we haven't really seen properly what he can do, gauged anything. He's held the ball up a couple of times, and he slipped over on the turf later on Sunday as well.
Derby, didn't he? Absolutely clattered Richard Keogh.
So it's bits and pieces, but it does feel like we haven't seen him properly. I mean, from not having been at Colney yesterday, I wondered if it'd be Anel Hernandez who'd get a go, and it would be Josh Murphy who'd be the one who maybe gets rest.
Yeah. I just don't think he'll do both. I think he'll do one or the other. But either way, if you start with Nelson, you've got to give Dennis more game time than 5 minutes, haven't you? You need to get him half an hour. Otherwise, I think he's arrived with quite a bit of momentum. He was obviously doing very well for Paderborn, wasn't he? If he's not played for a month properly, then that's going to have affected any momentum that he arrived with, really, isn't it?
Indeed. Midfield, of course, is an interesting thing. I saw Paddy yesterday in your video suggesting maybe Mario Vrancic is an option that could come in there, depending if he wants to start with Morris again, or maybe give Morris Leitner a bit of time for then the Bolton game. I expect Ivo Pinto will be starting. That's all it is.
Yeah, that seems pretty certain. Daniel hinted at that after the game, didn't he? I think if he does, then obviously you've got Harrison Reed who could replace Alex Tettey in the middle, but I just think if you're going to hang in at Wolves, they're so good, they've got so many players who are good going forward, that you need Alex Tettey, you need that settled back 3, and you need Angus Gunn, because you can't, if you say have Harrison Reed there, you play Sean Raggett instead of one of those 3, then that's a big ask. And if you then get thumped 4-0 at Wolves, which is very possible with they've got 60-70 million pounds worth of talent comfortably there. You know, we're talking about James Maddison going for possibly 20 million plus in the summer, so they have spent big and they're ready for the Premier League. I just think unless Alex Tettey is going to be struggling to start because of fitness issues, I think you need to play him tonight.
It's interesting as well. You mentioned that the money that they've spent, Benicofobé, of course, is there on loan, as you mentioned, on the bench. Yeah. I mean, a player that Norwich were chasing quite hard. I'm just going to see if I can get up the video and answer some of your comments. The coaches have all gone.
Should we shuffle around so people can actually see that we're at Carrow Road rather than a road?
I mean, I've always thought the River End is such a glorious stand from this angle, but there we go.
Now as well.
It is an old stand as well. In terms of Wolves, I mean, we're obviously pretty much certain that they're going to go up, probably going to go up as champions. They've looked like that for the most part. A little bit of a trip at Saturday at Preston, though, and Alec Neil's side, down to 10 men, still managed to take a point off them. So, you know, we have to be careful we don't dismiss this as being a complete write-off from before kick-off.
No, of course not. That's the Championship, isn't it? Any team can beat anyone on the day, but they're 11 points clear. They've only lost one of their last 18 in the league. That was at home to Forest, 2-0, only about a month ago, so that shows that it can be done. I mean, Forest obviously aren't tearing up any trees at the moment, no pun intended. But yeah, of course, if you can frustrate them, we've seen it with Norwich. They've won 1-0 6 times away from home, haven't they? If you can do it at Borough, you can do it at Bristol City, you can do it at Wolves. But that's why, as I said a minute ago, I think you need that settled defensive shape with Tettey in front of them if you're going to stand any chance of keeping them out and holding on, because you can't be under any illusions that tonight is going to be really, really tough.
It is as tough as it comes really this season. Quick look then at Ben Walker, come on your yellows, and where was Wes Hoolahan on Sunday? Did that come up at Colney?
It didn't, no. Although Chris Wise, our colleague in the office, made a good point that we ran the stuff about the overseas players recently, didn't we? And Wes, of course, doesn't count as a homegrown player. He's from Ireland, so you know, we've seen Marley Watkins on the bench, we've seen James Husband at times. You know, is that maybe counting against Wes at the moment because so many of the German lads have come in? I mean, there was talk of a back niggle, wasn't there? So I don't know, to be perfectly honest.
That is a very good point. And I know for a fact that before Norwich did their transfer business in January, they were coming very close. They almost got caught out, I think, at one point with the homegrown rule, and they've of course recruited 3 players from Germany since then, so they're not in a better situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marcus Edwards, I mean, again, obviously when we go to a press conference, you can't go for every player in the squad with Daniel. You have to sort of, there's a bit of leeway there, and we've asked him so many times about Marcus Edwards that it's almost at the point where, you know, we've sort of forgotten he's there unless he appears on the bench at some point, but we've not even seen him with the squad, have we? So
no, we will see over the coming weeks, I think, is what I would say. If we've still not seen him, and by the time we get to middle of March, then I think there are major issues there. Tony Rivers, is Paddy at school in his school clothes, Dave? Do you know?
At school in his school clothes?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
I'm not sure. No, I think he swung home to see some family as we're swinging close to Coventry.
He will be with us at Molineux this evening. Whether he'll be in his school clothes, I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out, Tony. Steve Balls, a bit close to Steve Bull, that name there, Steve. Hopefully we can carry the spirit we showed in the final 5 minutes in the derby from the off. Grant Hanley is becoming a legend. I mean, Grant Hanley's influence, I think, was fantastic on Sunday. Norwich can't afford to be as sloppy, but I think it's a completely different game. I think the dynamic will be completely different today. In a way, it will suit Norwich, the task that they've got at Molineux tonight.
It'll probably suit Grant Hanley, yeah. I mean, that back three is going to be absolutely key tonight. I mean, equally, Daniel made the point. I mean, I liked how he sort of shoveled the pressure on Wolves and said, you know, oh yeah, they're already promoted, was basically what he said. But John Ruddy, who of course we know all about, #1 big man, as that banner famously said at the end of last season. 17 clean sheets in 32 games, I think it is off the top of my head. It's the most of anyone in the division. Ryan Bennett, after a shaky start, has forced his way in, and the Wolves fans seem to really like him. So as much as they've got Cavaleiro, Neves, all those players going forward, the sort of the Portuguese influence in the squad, they also are very good at the back. And Daniel pointed out that they're very organised, they know their system. So, you know, if Norwich is going to manage anything tonight, I mean, if you could hold out for a 0-0 draw, I think that would be a fantastic result. I mean, that's not a very optimistic thing to say before we set off on a 150-mile journey or whatever, but you'd snap the football god's hands off for a 0-0 right now, wouldn't you?
I mean, they were very strong, I thought, very physical as well, for all their talk of how good their movement is, and you can see the types of goals Wolves score every week. It's always involving great movement, usually on the counter. They are so strong and physical at the back, and maybe a Shrabini and Oliveira top two up top might be something that Norwich would fancy on the counter. It's something that the rest of their formation would allow them to do. Who knows?
Possibly. I mean, I'd struggle to see how you get James Maddison in the team with two up front as well. And me and Paddy did talk about that a bit in the Facebook Live yesterday, that perhaps it would benefit Josh more if there was another wide player, maybe Hernandez instead of Maddison, so that you had a sort of more traditional 3-4-3 rather than a 3-4-1-2, which is sort of, is to accommodate Maddison, really, isn't it? Because he doesn't play out wide. But yeah, I mean, they've got Connor Cody, who's very much in the Grant Hanley mould, isn't he? He's a big guy. He's their captain. Ryan Bennett, of course, as well. So they're a big group as well. And Norwich are going to have to play far better than they did on Sunday. You can be under no illusions about that. But you just hope that maybe that adrenaline rush is maybe still in their veins a little bit. And that all that fitness work still carries it out for the full 90.
That would be absolutely spot on. I did think it was interesting that Nuno Santo kind of dismissed the talk of how well they were doing. He was like, "No, I don't care about Norwich. I don't care what they're doing." Well, very single-minded young, reasonably old man.
Wasn't it just a few weeks ago when he went on the Channel 5 interview for the Championship show and just said, "Oh, we're top, are we? I don't look at the table." It's like, "Oh, come on."
He's too busy having a cigarette beforehand, probably. What else have we got here just before we go? Because it is very cold, it's starting to rain. It's making me worried about how cold it's going to be at Molineux tonight. Simon Moore, do you think Leitner will start alongside Maddison? They seem to have an understanding. So briefly, Leitner to start tonight.
I wouldn't be surprised if he dipped out tonight. As I said earlier, Bolton's got to be the main focus. Daniel said yesterday that this is pretty much the first time in 2 years that Moritz Leitner has played 90-minute football matches. So I think he's quite likely to start on the bench tonight. But you don't bench Maddison at the moment, do you? He's in such good flow.
You don't bench Maddison. Cue him being benched tonight. Ian Thompson, Hernandez for Murphy, who was awful on Sunday. Can we ask Farke why from corners we don't leave one up top?
Don't they?
I don't know. I remember Leicester, when the year they won the title, they had 3 players left up for every corner they took. Just fantastic attacking intent.
Real system that year, didn't they? I'll keep an eye on that one tonight. I can't say I've noticed that, to be honest. I wouldn't say Josh was awful on Sunday. I did the player watch on him, and he wasn't great, but you certainly can't. The same as Nelson recently, you can't fault him for a lack of effort. It's just, I don't think the system's suiting him.
Just wasn't involved, I think that was the thing. And that does sometimes, then you don't notice if they're making runs that are offering space to others.
You don't want Josh on halfway with a defender at his back holding people off, do you? That's just not his game.
It isn't. So let's end then with Stephen Noakes. If we pull it off tonight, I hope we don't get carried away with the playoff chances. Ben Taylor, why wouldn't you get carried away with playoff chances? Positivity, how dare we? In that essence, we head to Molineux tonight. We've got to catch up with the coaches, of course. Don't forget, full build-up, team news, live coverage of the game, and all the fallout and reaction you could possibly want will be at PinkUn.com this afternoon, stroke this evening by the time we get there, with myself, with Dave and with Paddy Davitt. We will see you there. Until then, fingers crossed for something positive from those Canaries. Dave?
Hit the button.